Hey, it's your girl Shay Shay. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time, and welcome back if you've been here before. Taylor Swift just dropped her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, and 12 albums deep, she's still at the top of her game. 15 years of chart-topping hits, sold-out arenas, and basically running pop culture like it's her own kingdom. You can say what you want, but that kind of longevity, that deserves respect. Not many artists make it this far without fading, and Taylor is still relevant, still making headlines, and still untouchable. In this era, she's looking good. The aesthetic is strong, vintage Vegas glam meets high fashion pop star. The visuals, the styling, the whole package. You could see the attention to detail. Taylor Swift has curated her image perfectly, and it's working for her. But here's the interesting thing. The album itself hasn't exactly set the internet on fire. The reactions to The Life of a Showgirl have been underwhelming. Critics on the internet are giving mixed reviews, fan chatter is more confused than hype, and the general buzz isn't the level you'd expect from a Taylor Swift release. And interestingly, not just from casual listeners, but also from Swifties themselves. So while she's still at the top of her game, the pop culture reaction is a little lukewarm. Let's talk about it. Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take anything said here too seriously. It's just jokes, gossip, and opinions. Please relax and enjoy the video. No, but for real, don't be getting packed out over anything that's said here. We're just literally talking mess and having a casual conversation. It's not that deep. Alright, before we get into the album itself and the reaction to the album, let's set the stage. Taylor Swift has just wrapped the Eras Tour. Sold out stadiums, screaming fans, production so extra it made Broadway look like a community theater. The tour reminded everyone exactly why she's still at the top of the pop girlies at the current moment. Add to that her engagement to Travis Kelce, and you've got a media frenzy on another level. Everyone was waiting to see how the next album would reflect her personal life. Would it be romantic, playful, emotional? Fans were expecting a look into her life, along with the kind of storytelling that some people really enjoy in her writing. On top of that, Taylor promised this era would be different. She said she wanted The Life of a Showgirl to be more upbeat, lighter, and fun, a departure from her introspective last albums. Naturally, the anticipation was enormous. Social media theorists were analyzing every teaser. TikTok was asking questions about what this was going to be like. Think pieces were ready. The world was primed for Taylor Swift's album that could lift moods and entertain, at least according to the hype. So with all that context, massive tour, public love life, and promises of a fun, upbeat record, expectations were sky high. And that's why the reactions on the internet were so mixed when the album actually dropped and fans could listen to this project. Alright, now we get to one of the most eyebrow-raising moments of The Life of a Showgirl, the track Actually Romantic. This one is widely read as Taylor's response to Charli XCX's Sympathy is a Knife, which came out last year in the Brat album. But here's the catch, Charli's song wasn't about Taylor at all. It was deeply personal reflection on anxiety, self-doubt, and the little narratives her brain spins when she's feeling insecure. No shade, just vulnerability. Yet somehow Taylor read it as a full-blown diss. And how did she respond? With lyrics like, "I heard you call me boring Barbie," directly quoting what she perceived as an insult and flipping Charli's self-reflection into a kind of romantic obsession, saying, "No man has ever loved me like you do." Critics were quick to point out that this was a classic misread. Instead of seeing Charli's nuanced emotions, Taylor turned it into a story of conflict and drama, a public fight that didn't even exist. Fans on Twitter and TikTok had a field day. Memes popped up instantly, some laughing at the sheer misinterpretation, some side-eyeing the idea that Taylor could take a song about anxiety and turn it into a personal vendetta. The consensus was, you'd think an English teacher could read this. Now mind you, it is also important to remember that we don't know these people at all. We know what they want us to see. It's very possible that Charli XCX has been talking smack behind the scenes. We don't know, but from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like that's really the case, or at the very least, that's not what's present in the music, which is why a lot of people find Taylor Swift's response to this whole situation quite odd. Can we talk about the irony of calling out someone for calling you boring on a boring-ass song, though? Alright, now let's talk about the songs themselves. If Actually Romantic was a misread, then some of the tracks on The Life of a Showgirl feel a little bit off to me. Take Wood, for example. Yes, the track everyone is talking about because it's supposedly a playful ode to her fiancé, Travis Kelce, but the metaphors are so on the nose that it's not really even a metaphor at this point, in my opinion. Lines like, he digmatized me and opened my eyes, and his love was the key that opened my thighs, both from Wood. Look, some people might find this cute, but a lot of listeners just cringe. It did feel very high school. Critics called it banal, and honestly, it reads like Taylor tried too hard to be clever and ended up somewhere between awkward and absurd. It's the kind of lyric that really feels like trying to be playful, but completely missing the mark. And it's not just Wood. Other tracks like Cancelled lean into the kind of millennial speak that feels forced. The infamous line, "Did you girl boss too close to the sun?" I mean, like, sure, it sounds trendy, but it also makes you wonder if she's trying too hard to keep up with meme culture instead of leaning on the storytelling she's known for. Because when you try to use like current lingo, it's going to age out very quickly. Some people still enjoy that style, but it also does feel like it's missing something. It feels uninspired, in my opinion. And some people online have been side-eyeing this project. Other people have been saying that she's entering her flop era. I even saw certain people saying that she's following the Katy Perry blueprint by flopping. In part also because the expectations were quite high for this album. People were expecting a bit of a shift from the path that she's been on recently. And it felt like we were expecting a Broadway spectacle, and instead we got a cute little indie play with a few awkward lines. And to be honest, it's not a bad album, but it's not great either. So I think it's important to have this conversation real quick as a society about flopping and not flopping, because I've noticed a lot of people do bring up the fact that they think she's flopping because this album is horrible, but at the same time, it's like, look at the figures. She's clearly not flopping, and people put out music usually at her stature is to make money, to have a return. The label invests to have a return. So in those regards, she's not flopping. But then on the other side, you do have to consider that just because something is consumed en masse does not necessarily mean that it's good. For example, McDonald's is the most popular restaurant in the world. That doesn't mean it's the best or that it's actually any good. Like, its popularity is not a reflection on the quality. Now let's talk real quick about the promo circus around the life of a showgirl, because this is where things start feeling a little too choreographed in my opinion. So out of nowhere, the official iTunes Twitter account, which hadn't been active since 2019, suddenly comes back to life in September 2025. And for what? To promote just Taylor's new album. No other artist, no platform reboot, just Taylor Swift. Fans and critics both pointed out how weird it was to see Apple basically resurrect the dead account for one artist. Some called it smart marketing, others called it chart manipulation. Either way, it shows how powerful Taylor's industry relationships still are, because when she moves, entire platforms will rise from the dead for her. And when you also take into consideration the reviews, that's where things started to get really weird. Rolling Stones came out swinging with a 5-star glowing review calling the album a confident return to form, and the pop fairy tale reimagined for grown-ups, amongst other things. The other things I don't know because I'm not paying for this. But The Guardian gave a 2-star review calling it flat, overproduced, and proof that even pop royalty can sound uninspired. The thing is that the contrast is what's got people talking. Because this wasn't just different opinions, it felt political. Some users online, even fans, started saying that certain outlets are too scared to critique Taylor in an honest and unbiased way. The logic is simple. Say something critical and her fan base will come for you hard. In my personal opinion, I do think that Rolling Stone might have done this, sensing the way that the culture was moving and how the internet was reacting to this album, and decided to do something like this to rage bait people. I mean, let's not forget a couple years ago when they called Harry Styles the Prince of Pop, which is something that irritated at the time a lot of people, with even Taj Jackson urging Rolling Stone to give him his own title because he felt it was disrespectful to the late Michael Jackson. So when The Life of a Showgirl finally dropped, everyone expected chaos, countdowns, theories, TikTok breaking down hidden Easter eggs, but instead we got confusion. And I don't mean for the usual haters, I mean from her own fan base. For once, even Swifties started admitting that something felt off. There are to this day long-term fans on TikTok saying things like, "I love her, but this isn't clicking for me," or "I can't tell if I'm not getting it," or if there's just nothing to get. Well, because this is Taylor Swift, the woman who can usually release a voice memo and top the charts. The same fan base that defends every bridge, every metaphor, every Easter egg, suddenly sounded tired. And honestly, it's not that people hate the album, it's more like they're disappointed. They expected a return to pop brilliance, a little sparkle, some fun, some color after the muted tones of Midnights, of the Tortured Poets Department, the Forest albums. Instead, they got a project that felt safe. Like she's performing the idea of Taylor Swift instead of actually surprising us with something different. A lot of people did feel like this was similar to the music she's done in the past. They felt like there wasn't that much innovation in this new album, and they also felt like it did show a lack of growth in terms of the quality of her music. Some people did compare that her age is similar to Beyonce's when she released the groundbreaking and excellent album Lemonade. On the other side, however, there are Swifties who adore the album and will defend her vigorously on any social media that they see where her album is being dragged. So to be honest, it'd be more fair to say that this was a mixed review rather than bad. Now, before anybody accuses me of being a Taylor hater, let's be honest for a second. Even though her music might not be the type of genre I go out of my way to listen to, I do recognize that you don't get to 12 albums, global tours, and literal economic impact without having some kind of talent. That's just facts. You don't become the most streamed artist in the world because you tricked people. Clearly, there's something about her that connects with certain audiences more than others, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, some of the criticism around the life of a showgirl and Taylor Swift more generally might be going too far. People calling her washed up, saying she's done. How can you say that when it's not even been a week by the time this video comes out that her album has been out? Taylor's not over as far as we know. She's just comfortable, and comfort for a lot of artists is where art starts to lose its spark. But maybe that's the point. She doesn't need to prove herself anymore. She has proven herself. And frankly, she's done more than a lot of singers ever could dream of. At the end of the day, The Life of a Showgirl isn't the worst album ever made. It's just the first time it's felt like casual listeners, haters, and a large portion of Swifties all thought it was mediocre, which is a first. And honestly, the reaction says a lot more about the culture we've built around Taylor than it does about her music. She's still talented, still powerful, and still a showgirl, but maybe this time the show needed to preheat a bit longer. And at the end of the day, I will always respect Taylor Swift because she can always be counted on to bring more pop culture drama. So what do you think? Is The Life of a Showgirl living up to the hype, or do you think the Swifties are finally admitting it's just okay? I want to hear your thoughts, favorite tracks, least favorite, or anything you noticed that we didn't talk about. Thank you for watching, and as always, let's keep the conversation in the comment section respectful. Please let me know about what you think about this whole situation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video. Shay out.